Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Did you hear about the toilets over at the Spotsy police station? They got vandalized. They were destroyed by some vandal. The deputies have nothing to go on. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. I may have a couple stupid cop jokes for you, because I left my notebook here in the studio last week, and so I haven't been able to take my notes and talk about a whole bunch of other different stuff. So I'm going to talk about one thing for most of the day, and then we'll get into the news. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate it. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can also follow me on social media over here. Yeah. Seriously, though, did you hear about the sinkhole over by the police station?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, all the cops are looking into it. See, EK likes these kinds of things. And I was the one who went, I searched stupid cop jokes. It came up with these. Anyway. So I'm going to tell you about my weird-ass Groundhog Day. This happened on February 2nd. I got a ticket. I got pulled over. And I know what you're thinking. Madman, it's a little early for that. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. We'll get to it. Madman, if you got pulled over, if you got a ticket, how come we're not watching body cam footage of it right now? It was like, well, first of all, I didn't have a body cam. Second of all, it's a stupid thing to fight over, it's a stupid thing to fight over. And I'll cover all of that. So it really started out with, have you ever had one of those Frisco burgers from Hardee's? The sourdough, you know what I'm saying? I woke up on Friday and I was thinking, yeah, I want me a sourdough sandwich from Hardee's. So I drove all the way over to Hardee's, not one near me. And I'm coming down Courthouse Road and stop at the light at Smith Station Road, and there's a Hardee's right there at the corner, if you know. And as I was driving down Courthouse Road towards the city, I saw that there was a cop in a Suburban, older Suburban, in the left lane. I'm in the right lane. And we all stop at the light. The left lane's more stacked up than the right lane, and so he stops, and I pull up ahead of him. He's like 2 cars behind me in the left lane. I'm in the right lane. I finish a cigarette. I spot the cop in the mirror, but I'm like, I like cops. They're not all dickheads. And so I just throw my cigarette butt out the window, thinking nothing of it. Light turns green, and I come first right turn into the Hardee's there, and I look up in my rearview mirror, and the guy doesn't even have sirens on, just the lights. And I'm like, oh, hell. I guess he is kind of being a dick today. Maybe I was wrong about cops, And so I pulled into the Hardee's parking lot there. And after a little while, of course, he's got to call it in and stuff like that. And so I'm thinking, like, the first thing that popped in my head I wanted to say is, like, when did you quit? When did you quit smoking? Because nobody hates smokers and smokers' cigarette butts than ex-smokers. You ever see that movie with Samuel L. Jackson and that dude from they lived in a cul-de-sac, and the guy was a smoker, and Samuel L. Jackson's always constantly going off about how he's smoking, he's like flicking his cigarette butts in the street. Nobody hates a smoker like an ex-smoker, and that's the first thing that popped in my head. It's like, I should ask this guy when he quit. And so he gets out of the vehicle, comes up to the car. He does the thing where he touches the car. You know why they do that, right? So somebody can find them if they get snatched and murdered. You know what I mean? And it kind of reminded me, as soon as I saw him touch the car to leave his fingerprints on my vehicle, I was like, oh yeah, this job he does is incredibly dangerous. So as he's coming up, I got my hands, as I always do when I get pulled over, I have my hands on my wheel at like 11 and 12. You know what I mean? My hands are, right there on the steering wheel, gripping the steering wheel, so you know what I'm holding. I don't want to appear as a threat, because I'm not. I'm not a threat. All right? And that's what I noticed. He wasn't wearing a body cam, and I'm like, oh hell, I don't have nothing for the show. I mean, I guess I could have because it depends on like what kind of body cam videos or what kind of police videos you watch. You know, if you watch the dash cam videos, is what I'm guessing he probably had a dash cam. And if I wanted to, and all this is going through my head in like a matter of a second. And if I wanted to do something that would make it onto an interesting dash cam video for YouTube, I would have to run from the cop. I would have to like throw it in gear and just start running, you know? And I'm not going to do that. I've never been at that sort of confluence of stupidity and I don't give a fuck. You know, I've never been at that kind of point. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. Guy's not wearing a body camera. I'm just going to be polite, say yes sir, no sir, get my ticket, and I'll have to pay a fine. I'll have to pay a fine, and that's it. And he goes, as you know, I pulled you over because, you know, you can't throw your cigarette butts out the window. And I'm just like looking at him through my sunglasses thinking, really? You're going to do this, man? You're going to do this? Just let me go. I got my hat out that says Navy veteran. That kind of thing shouldn't matter. And so he's like, okay, so give me your license. I gave him my license, and he goes, you know how cops do this thing where they'll like rub their hands like this as they're talking to you, as you know, in the high wind conditions and so forth. It could start a fire and so forth. It cause all. Okay, and here's my license. And he take the license and rub the license on his hand a little bit, and it kind of made me think as he was doing that, is like, you know, even cops don't know what to do with their hands when they're talking, you know. It kind of made him more human to me, you know. Plus he was kind of a barrel-chested guy. His hands were kind of weathered, like he works with his hands, like in his off time he builds stuff. You know what I mean? You know, he seemed like a good old boy. You know, he was a cop and so forth. And so barrel-chested kind of guy. He's probably just happy I wasn't the kind of guy who pulled out my cell phone and was like, I'm recording you, by the way. I'm not driving, I'm traveling. I'm not one of those people. I bet he's just happy that was the case. Because I'm not the kind of guy who's going to start, because I knew what he pulled me over for. So he takes my license, goes back to the car, writes up the ticket. All right. And you can pull that up now, the ticket.
Let's see the golden ticket.
And so, Virginia Code 10.1-1143, local code 12.2. Describe the charge. Discard? Is that a G? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was trying to go on there. Maybe he thought it was a G, because it's discard, is it not? Am I wrong on that? So, okay, let's say that that's a C. Discard cigarette. He spelled that correctly, which oddly enough is the word I usually spell incorrectly. I put 2 R's in it. On highway / incineratory device. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not a word. I'm fairly certain that that's not a word. Incineratory device. So, it just, I don't know what to say. You heard me do a rant a few weeks back about how I saw the graffiti of somebody scratched Fagit into the the door of the elevator. Is everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get something to move screen.
Okay. Let's see if we get a...
That shouldn't affect you at all.
Okay. I accidentally hit pause. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if that's showing up in the feed.
No, it's not going to show up.
Oh, okay. All right. You saw me. I get mad about like somebody misspelling a slur, you know? And so when it comes to official documents, incineratory? Plus, I mean, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say incendiary device. Very different word. And so when you say incendiary device, you make it sound like I'm a terrorist or something. That sounds like something like I have, Judge Dredd's hot shot or something like that. I have that crazy ass gun they got. You know, it makes me sound like I'm a terrorist, but you didn't even spell it correctly. I don't know. Yeah, I guess he was a good old boy. I guess he was, you know, how smart do you have to be to fight criminals? and let's be honest, it's not like I'm a criminal. I broke the law, but I'm not a criminal. I mean, it's not like and those guys in those body cam videos who, like, they have warrants and so forth. See, it's funny because when when you spend a lot of time watching body cam videos and then you interact with the police, it's almost like the kind of body cam videos you watch will influence how you react to the police. Oh, good. I was going to pull that up. That's the code. Throwing inflammable objects from vehicle on highway while... Does that say inflammable?
It says inflammable, not incineratory.
Throwing inflammable? Doesn't inflammable means it doesn't set on fire? What? I don't know. Maybe the whole county's weird. It's like nobody can spell. A thing flams or it doesn't, right?
I guess. Do I need to look up the word flam?
I don't know what's going on with the county, because it says it shall be unlawful for any person to throw, toss, or drop, what I did covers, and that is covered there, from a vehicle moving or standing. I was standing, so if you want to argue that I was in the middle of the highway, I was stopped at the light, the cigarette butt fell in the middle of the road, the ground's still moist from the snow that was on the ground the week before. You could argue all that, I suppose, but at the end of the day, I threw, tossed, or dropped something from a moving or standing vehicle on a highway. Lighted smoking material, lighted match, lighted material of any nature, or any bomb or device. See, it's all covered, like from cigarette lighters to matches to cigarette butts to fire bombs to Molotov cocktails. And so it's a Class 2 misdemeanor in Virginia. And it could be confinement in jail for not more than 6 months and or a possible fine of not more than $1,000. So, that's what I've been dealing with this week. And I was worried. It was like, am I going to have enough? Can I talk about this for a half an hour?
I mean, we're already 15 minutes in.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm missing stuff.
Well, it wasn't wearing the body cam.
What?
The body cam.
What about it?
Why wasn't he wearing a body cam?
That's why I'm upset. I wonder if, he was in the car, he did a cursory search, he pulls up my name from the registration, does a quick Google search, comes up to my channel, and starts scrolling through recent videos, and he goes, oh, he's got a video called My Impending Arrest. Let's turn that on while I call this in, type some stuff in the computer. And he starts watching my video called My Impending Arrest. It's like, uh-oh, what's this guy planning? And he hears me talking about body cams in the video, and it's like, I know, I'll take my body cam off. I'll turn it off and leave it in the car. That way this guy don't act up. Maybe he did that. I don't know. It's like, I'm not going to cause you any trouble, But at the same time, you see these people who get arrested. It's like, I wasn't doing nothing. You're shoplifting from Walmart. I wasn't doing nothing, But I think I was far more not doing nothing than anybody else I've ever seen in those body cam footages. You know what I mean? And just like that previous video I was talking about, it's like, a lot of police work is mundane, and so, and not every single body cam footage is interesting to watch. Usually it's the very drunk people. Usually it's the guys who are running and fighting and stuff like that. That kind of, those are the things that get a lot of hits. Some, nerd, comic book nerd getting pulled over on the side of the road for flicking a cigarette butt out the window. Nobody's going to be watching. How do you even make a thumbnail for that? Nobody's going to make a video like that. And so that's probably why maybe the guy didn't worry about a cam. Or he saw my video. And now he's a subscriber. If I had gained one subscriber after right after that, I would say the cop subscribed to my channel. So that's why I'm talking about this. I mean, because there could be a possibility he watches this. And I was like, I don't think you're dumb, sir. Just because you can't spell doesn't mean you're dumb. So let's see what else. I'm talking about that. All right. Let me tell you about littering. All right. You can sit there and make an argument that dropping a cigarette butt out the window, it could cause forest fires. Okay. This isn't San Francisco. This isn't the Pacific Northwest. It hasn't been dry or anything for a long period of time. It wasn't even that windy that day. All right, but my point is that it's not going to happen here. But you do have a valid argument that throwing smoking materials could start a fire. Fair enough. All right, but if you want to talk about littering, if it's littering, people who get upset about litter or trash, it boggles my mind. You understand that everything that is made by man is made from material that came from Earth. All right, and everything that is made is either from the Earth and shall return to the Earth, just like us. Okay, so if you sit there and it's like, I just can't stand all the cigarette butts out on the road, it's making a mess. It's like, it's cotton and paper. Everything biodegrades. The concept of non-biodegradable is absurd. Everything biodegrades. It's all going to freeze and burn and freeze and burn again. What's all the fuss about? If you want to tidy up, fine. But it's not, it's not a fire. It's not a Molotov cocktail. You know what I'm saying? It's a cigarette butt. And when I got this ticket, I was like, some people said to me, it's like, you should fight these charges. It's kind of ridiculous. And I was like, I don't think it's ridiculous. For example, it's like, there's never going to be a body cam video of me like shoplifting from Walmart or something like that. Because you know why? Because I don't shoplift from Walmart. You're never going to find a body cam footage of me giving a false ID or saying, no, I don't have any warrants when I have warrants, because I don't get warrants. This is like the biggest thing that's happened to me in like 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? And I have a weird reputation. I got this one when it comes to the law, like running afoul of the law. I got this one, cigarette butt out the window. I got alcohol in the federal park. I got fishing without a license, and I got camping without a backcountry permit. And 2 of those I got before I went in the Navy, and people would make fun of me. It's like, oh, you can't get a top secret clearance. You had a backcountry permit violation. You were camping where you weren't supposed to be. They would make fun of me. But they really got pissed when they said, you ever been part of an organization that wants to violently overthrow the U.S. government? I said, violently? No. They didn't like that. They have no sense of humor about that stuff. And so people would say, fight the charges. And I'm just like, it's so ridiculous. You don't want to fight the government. I've tried fighting the government in the Navy and working for a contractor for the government. All right. You do not want to fight these people. All right. And my sister, she's sending me texted me stuff like, oh, here's some legal resources and stuff like that. Here's you can get free legal, talk to somebody. I'm just trying to put her mind at ease, because she's she's either good at worrying or can't stop worrying. It's hard to tell the difference. And so, like, to put her at ease, I said to her, is like, look, I'm just going to go to the judge by myself and plead guilty because I am. All right. This is one charge. I'm not going to fight the system. I'm not the guy who's the January 6th Proud Boy who gets thrown in jail for 20 years because they want to make an example out of somebody, even though they might be making an example out of me. Because a lot of people saying they're cracking down on this kind of stuff. And that's fine, because cops, they may not agree with the laws that they're enforcing. But if they have a meeting one day and say, look, these environmentalist asshole bosses we got, they say we need to start giving more tickets to people for throwing their cigarette butts out their windows. So we need more of that. And then this guy goes, oh, thank God. I can get one and say, hey, I caught one this week. Did you? So I was very cordial. Yes, sir. No, sir to the guy. But when he handed me the ticket, it says, sign this. This doesn't mean you're guilty, but it's not something you can pay. You got to go to court. So I got to go to court next month over this. Hopefully I won't spend 6 months in jail. Hopefully it won't be an $1,000 fine, because that's going to hurt. Like selling comic books hurt. And I don't want to do that. All right. And before we, I just want to say is like, it's kind of a clown world we're living in. It's, when I start thinking about like other crimes that are happening in the people, that's going on, I think about the Summer of Love when all those riots happened, like Minneapolis and so forth, and how little prosecution, went into all of that. And then January 6th happens, and then they went, prosecution crazy. It was a field day of prosecutions, but, hey, it's not like they burned down anything. And you see this like injustice throughout the country. And you could say that Sposylvania County isn't those jurisdictions, and that's fair enough. But it's kind of a trend in justice where, it's like they may throw the book at me because my skin color, my political persuasion, my gender. I should just say sex. My sex, the fact that I'm a white male, Christian white male. They may throw the book at me. You know, in the same day, they'll be letting off somebody who looted a store. Who knows? Who knows what can happen? Hopefully I get a judge that's like, this is absurd. Why is this on my desk? And just throws it out. I hope. All right. And I'm going to plead guilty. And so I was just curious, like what else happened? Like what crimes happened that day? It's like when I was first driving away. I got the Frisco burger, by the way. It just tasted less good. It's like I don't know, like a cheeseburger before you go to jail. It's like just not as good. So I got that, and so I was thinking about maybe if I can look up like other crimes that happened around about the same time I got the ticket. I could point at them and say, "Oh, look what else was happening. You should have been dealing with the real troublemakers." And those people who say, you know, it was like, "Oh, you should fight these charges." The guy had nothing better to do. And so I started looking up like the kinds of crimes that happen in Sposylvania County. and they put out a report, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times a month because of all the crime that happens in Sposylvania County. And so we got some serious stuff going on in burglary, breaking and entering at Tobacco Hut and Vape, vandalism, somebody spray painted cop cars, larceny, lots of larcenies, lots of people stealing. Like this one on Callan Boulevard, said his vehicle's side mirror was stolen. I don't know. They say there's victimless crimes, but I think that there's like brainless crimes. It's like, why? Why would you take that? A lot of larcenies, arrests. And when it comes to arrests that happened in this week, I guess, it's like there's tons of people not showing up to court. And like all those people who don't go to court and don't show up, they get a bench warrant. And so boom, they get, you know, they go out and arrest them. Probation violations, blah, blah, blah. A lot of contempt of court. A lot of people pissing off judges. Contempt of court. An assault and battery, grand larceny, intoxication in public. So when people say it's like he didn't have anything better to do that day in Sposylvania, and the answer is no. He didn't have anything better to do that day. And the good news is that the community I live in is that safe and that nice that I can't say that there was something more important to do. I can't say to that officer, it's like, oh, there's some guy murdered a block away. It's like, no. The worst he had to deal with is like another guy flicking a cigarette butt as he's passing me. As they're passing, it hits him in the head. That would have been like hilarious and ironic. If as he's passing, a cigarette butt comes flying and hits him in the head. It's like, I'm going to be at it all day. They're like, yeah, hurry up with the ticket so you can go catch that guy. I want everyone. It's funny because you say that this is such a ridiculous crime, you know, the ridiculous ticket and so forth. But at the same time, you're like, you need to start enforcing this with everybody. Because now every single time after that, I see people flicking cigarette butts out their window and I start getting mad. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't be getting mad. It's not my problem. I just need to be worried about my problems, which is this ticket. I'm just going to plead guilty for it. You know, why else? Of course I'm going to do that. I wouldn't talk about this publicly and go in there and say not guilty. And then have the judge get pissed. It's like, you're going to take this to trial. You're going to take this to trial. And my argument would be like, you made it a trial. It's technically arrest. Technically you're taking me to court. Prove it. You have some sort of body cam video of this guy, of me throwing the butt out the window? Prove that that's my cigarette butt. Go get your CSI team to go over there and sweep all the cigarette butts, all of the cigarette butts from over there. See if you can find one that matches my DNA. It's absurd. It's absurd to think that way. And every time I see one of those body cam videos where some guy just tries to fight or run, it's like, it's absurd to think or try to do that. Like I said, I've never been at that confluence of stupidity and I don't give a fuck. Never been there. But there's been a lot of I don't give a fuck. But the stupidity has never really gotten to that level. Anger is that's a different thing altogether. Anyway, you want to get into the news worth knowing? I was like, no way I can talk about something for a half hour straight. Well, it's about me. I'm vain enough. Holy cow. You got like what are they called? Like a table of contents? A talk? Wow, EK's been fiddling with stuff. Alrighty. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a bunch of this stuff. I got to close all these windows. I'm looking up like Virginia codes and stuff. All right.
I was doing the same thing a few minutes ago.
Apparently. All right. Let's see what Biden's up to. Alrighty. So Biden's latest climate rules crack down on manufacturing, ignoring industry warnings of economic devastation. Biden administration finalized regulations severely tightening restrictions of fine particulate matter that the manufacturing and energy sectors are legally allowed to emit, an action that that industry said would have devastating economic consequences. The EPA unveiled the regulations Wednesday morning in a joint announcement with the environmental activists, saying limiting particulate matter known as PM 2.5 or soot would have health benefits for Americans nationwide. The rulemaking lowers the annual PM 2.5 standards to a level of 12 micrograms per cubic meter to a level of 9 micrograms per cubic meter. Today's action is a critical step forward that will make better protect workers, families, communities from dangerous and costly impacts of fine particulate pollution, EPA Administrator Michael Regan told reporters in a call. The science is clear. Soot pollution is one of the most dangerous forms of air pollution and is linked with a wide range of serious and potentially deadly illnesses, including asthma and heart attacks. The stronger standard is designed to ensure clear routine pathways for industry to continue to upgrade and build while maintaining cleaner, healthier air, Reagan continued. We know that cleaner air and a strong and bustling economy go hand in hand. According to the EPA, the regulations will prevent up to 4,500 premature deaths. How do you even come up with numbers like this? 290,000 lost work days while yielding up to $46 billion in net health benefits by 2032. How do they come up with these numbers? All right. More praise for the Biden administration. Where's the detractors? Okay. All right. Tightening the NAAQS PM 2.5 standard will grind permits to a halt for a large portion of the country. Marty Durbin, the Senior Vice President for Policy at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, said Wednesday. EPA's new rule is expected to put 569 counties out of compliance and push many others close to their limit, which threatens economic growth. Compliance with the new standard will be difficult because 84% of emissions now come from non-industrial sources like wildfires and road dust that are costly and hard to control, he continued. While EPA states there are exemptions for wildfires, 70% of those requests haven't been granted in the past, and the process of seeking one is time-consuming and difficult for states to manage. Durbin added that the EPA should have maintained a previous standard of 12 micrograms per cubic meter and focused its attention instead on reducing non-industrial emissions. The regulations Wednesday said punish counties and the private sector for situations largely out of their control. All right. With everything that's going on in our country, do you really think that this is what American people care about? I think there's a very small group of environmentalists that care, you know, and even if you're an environmentalist, you're still like, that's it, 3 micrograms. You know, it's it's not much, you know. And then you got to talk about like countries that don't have any kind of regulations like this at all. You know, interestingly, these are the countries that we outsource all of our production to, like India and China and stuff like that. And those countries are polluting like crazy. South America polluting like crazy. All right. So doing this doesn't do a whole lot for us because, you know, like the air, for example, is circulated throughout the world. Big planet, you know what I mean? Lots of air, lots of water. All right. But, you know, you don't want to talk about the border, Biden. You don't want to talk about that because you don't want to do anything about that, you know? And it's like, this is what this administration cares about, you know? And I don't know, you know, usually like an election year, they start getting like move close to the center, but Biden is not. That Biden campaign is hardline leftist. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's move on to this next story. Yellen dodges on whether Treasury Department moved to surveil Americans' legal purchases. Isn't this wonderful? Very nice deep state stuff, huh? So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen sidestepped questions on whether her department ordered surveillance to consumer purchases and transactions. Yellen was asked Tuesday during a hearing whether the Treasury Department instructed financial institutions to monitor legal purchases for signs of, quote, extremism, as claimed in a House Judiciary Committee letter last month. As Treasury, including FinCEN, FINCEN, or federal banking agencies like Fed, FDIC, OCC, instructed financial institutions to search Americans' legal transactions in attempts to surveil their purchases. Republican Missouri Representative Ann Wagner asked Yellen. Well, we received a letter from you, I believe, on this topic, and we intend to investigate and to respond. Yellen responded. Yeah, well, we received the letter from you, I believe, on this topic, and we intend to investigate and to respond. Why are you sitting there? This is why you're here. Respond now. This happens a lot these days on these, questioning things. It's like, well, yeah, we'll get back to you on that. It's like, no, tell me now. This is why we're here. It's ridiculous when they do that. Anyway, so it went on. Have you instructed banks and financial institutions to provide this information? And then she responds, well, FinCEN, our job is to work with financial institutions to make sure, Yellen began to reply before being interrupted by Wagner. Are they instructing financial institutions to search Americans' legal transactions in attempts to surveil their purchases? Wagner repeated. I promise you a thorough look into everything, Yellen said. Yeah, so we'll get back to you on that one. This is really concerning, and I would hope that you get to it just as quickly as possible, Madam Secretary, Wagner concluded. Federal investigators asked banks to search and filter customer transactions by using terms like MAGA and Trump as part of the investigation into January 6th, warning that purchases of religious texts could indicate extremism. Jeez. The House Judiciary Committee claimed last month. They are at war with God and God-fearing people. The committee obtained documents that included officials suggesting that banks query transactions with keywords like Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, and more. Who are they going after? The good old boys. You know what I mean? Cheapers. The terms and codes were discovered as part of a House Judiciary Committee and Subcommittee on Weaponization of the Federal Government Investigation. The committee obtained documents indicating the MCC codes were used to query transactions like 3484 small arms, 5091 sporting and recreational goods and supplies, and the keywords Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shops, among others. House Judiciary Committee also obtained documents revealing that FinCEN warned financial institutions that an extremism indicator could be the purchase of books, including religious texts like the Bible, and subscriptions to certain media containing extremist views. Deep state. Weaponized, politically biased, deep state. That's the Treasury Department. Got to fix that. You know, I don't know. It just seems like there was a time, when you had you say, this job is important. This is for the government. It's important that we are not politically biased in any way. Now it's just like, why were we ever doing that? We should take control of the country, do whatever we want. And that's what they're doing. We're going to look for people who are Christian and like to fish. Because those are the troublemakers, You think Janet Yellen's ever fished? Anyway. Next story. Riley Gaines slams insufferable trans activists mocking Bethany Hamilton at library event. So, transgender activists crashed into Missouri library. You know what? You should pull up a picture of Riley Gaines. She's just fun to look at. I know why the media latched onto her. She is freaking gorgeous. Those blue eyes of hers are mesmerizing. And that one-armed surfer ain't bad looking either. We had that conversation. I like how much of an arm you got to lose. All right, so transgender activists crashed Missouri library event with former University of Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines and surfing legend Bethany Hamilton last Friday, with at least one activist appearing to mock the one-armed professional surfer. The two female athletes were hosting a children's story hour featuring their inspirational titles about overcoming adversity from conservative book publisher Brave Books at the Library Center in Springfield, Missouri on February 2nd, the day I got the ticket. Gaines, an Outkick contributor and host of the podcast Gaines for Girls in Hamilton, have faced boycotts and backlash from the left for speaking out against the rise of biological men entering female sports competitions. After failing to get the February 2nd event canceled, transgender activists showed up draped in pride flags and apparel and made random disturbances during story hour, Brave Books told the Washington Examiner. Gaines shared how one activist came to the event with a stuffed shark doll to mock Hamilton, who lost her arm in a shark attack as a teenager. Quote, how messed up is this? This protester brought a stuffed shark animal to mock Bethany Hamilton, who lost her arm to a shark. Miserable, insufferable people. But oh so tolerant, she wrote on X. Is that Riley Gaines?
Right. I think so.
Nice. Gaines told Fox News Digital, that was just another example of the left's open-mindedness, tolerance, and acceptance on full display. This is a tactic they use time and time again, she went on to say. They want so desperately to mock, intimidate, and threaten those that don't agree with into silence, that this is a step too far. No words to describe how messed up it is to directly mock Bethany Hamilton and her traumatic experience that cost her arm by bringing a shark to his children's story hour. Dare I call this protester an ableist? To this statement. She continued, Bethany embodies a strong, courageous woman that is a role model for all. But at the end of the day, I'm glad those activists came into the Brave Book story hour. They needed to hear stories read even more than kids. They called it downright nasty. So people are just jerks. You know, and it's the whole point is that, like, this whole woke thing is the modern bullying. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. I've had, like, longer rants. This is the way that modern bullying goes, you know, except it's kind of almost state sanctioned at this point. You know, you're allowed to bully the person who doesn't agree that men are men and women are women. That gives you, like, under the law, under, you know, the social conditions, to treat that person poorly, to bully that person. And then anything goes. Then everything's fair in love and war, you know? I don't know. It's a poor attempt at humor, I guess, bringing a shark. Because her arm got eaten by a shark. You get it? You get it? Yeah, that Riley Gaines. Whenever I read a news article about her, I click on it just to look at a picture of her. Bright blue eyes. All right, let's go to this next story. South Carolina seeks to restart executions with electric chair and firing squad. Says painless death is not required. So this is interesting at the very least, because I have a lot of conflicting feelings when it comes to the death penalty. So let's read the article. Lawyers for a group of South Carolina death row inmates who have run out of appeals argued that the state Supreme Court that two of the state's form of execution, the old electric chair method and the new firing squad method, are cruel and unusual punishments, although the state claims that painless deaths are not mandated. The lawyers for the four inmates also argued that a 2023 law created to allow lethal injections to restart hides too many details about the new drug and protocol used to kill inmates. To restart hides. That doesn't make any sense. This is a 33 inmate sit. This as 33 inmates sit in the South Carolina's death row. There have not been any formal moratorium on the death penalty, but the state has not performed an execution in nearly 13 years after the drugs it uses for lethal injection expired and companies refused to sell more to prison officials unless they could hide their identities from the public. Interesting. South Carolina purports to have all three execution methods are consistent with the protocol, saying instantaneous or painless executions are not mandated by law. Courts have never held the death to be instantaneous or painless, wrote Grayson Lambert, a lawyer for the Republican Governor Harry McMaster's office. During a hearing, the judges questioned whether firing squad should be considered a banned unusual punishment since it has only been used in the U.S. 3 times in the past 50 years, all of which carried out in Utah. They They also questioned the electric conductivity of a human skull and asked if modern science has found that the electric chair to be more painful and cruel than a century ago. More painful and cruel. I don't believe that that's true. A lawyer for the inmates admitted that if the court bans electrocution in the firing squad, and if the state can show the drugs they use for lethal injection are the right potency and purity, and the method matches what is used in other states and the federal government, then they do not have the basis to stop an execution. There's been a lot of if coming off this plane. I want to make sure it's as humane as possible, John Bloom said. That's ridiculous. You know, pain is scary. Pain is a deterrent. It's bad enough that, leaving this world, but I mean, a painful one. Plus, it's so much cheaper to shoot them. It seems to be like a waste of energy to electrocute someone. It seems like we could be powering some generators or something, it's like a waste of energy. And so just a bullet, bullet to the head. I mean, it really doesn't need to be that simple. And one could argue that even that is too painless. I think pain should be involved. I guess it is pretty terrifying knowing you're going to die. So, like I said, a lot of conflicting feelings when it comes to the death penalty. But interesting. Interesting. All right, let's get into two lighter subjects. And we'll get out of here for the week. So Valentine's Day is coming up, and I don't know. Company offers unique chance to scrap your ex this Valentine's Day. And I was looking at this article, and I was like, I think I'm over it. I think I'm over her. It's been over a decade. So I looked at this article and was like, there was a time in my life I really would have been into this. But now I'm just slowly like, meh. Company offers unique chance to scrap your ex this Valentine's Day. Company is offering a chance to get ultimate act of symbolic revenge this Valentine's Day. The chance to scrap an ex-flame. So you throw her into a car and they crush the car around her? Is that how it works? Let's see. Every year, Valentine's Day marks a season of love and romance, but let's be honest, not all relationships last the distance, meaning that for some, this time of year can be a reminder of the partners you'd rather forget, said a blog post of January 25th of 2024 by the company Scrap Car Comparison based in the UK. I should have been doing an accent, I suppose. So for those in the midst of a breakup or suffering from heartbreak this Valentine's Day, we want to provide you a unique way to gain some closure. Say hello to our Scrap Your Ex scheme and goodbye to your ex. Post also said. Scrap Car Comparison is a service that assists customers in finding the best price for disposing of their cars according to the company's website. I got too many memories with her in that car, man. We work with hundreds of scrap yards up and down the country, scrap thousands of vehicles every year. So this year, we want to put vehicles heading to the scrap heap to particularly good use. Best way to do this is with the added benefit of a catharsis is by naming an old banger to hit the scrap heap after your ex-partner. So they write the ex's name on a car. Seems sad. Sad and incel. Sad incel kind of thing to do. Person seeking the name of the car, to name a car after a former partner can fill out a form at the Scrap Car Comparison website, the company said. Wow. The requester has to submit the ex's first name and explain why he or she wants the person to be scrapped. All entries must be made by the day of love itself, meaning Wednesday, February 14th of this year, said Scrap Car Comparison. Pictures posted on Scrap Car Comparison website shows cars that are spray painted with the person's name along with heart symbols. Why? While the company is based in the UK, anyone or anywhere in the world, but are you going to ship a car by February 14th over there? Sorry, I don't know. I guess if you had hire a private jet, load a car into it, fly it over to the UK, and why? Yeah, we accept anyone in the world, but no one will come. Just people around them. We're expecting high levels of demand. A lot of heartbroken people in England, I guess. We may not be able to scrap everyone's ex this year, but we'll do our best, said Scrap Car Comparison. Those who are picked will get photographic evidence of the scrapping. Ultimate heartbreak healer. Disagree. Time and alcohol. That's break. That heals heartbreak. All right, last story, then we're getting out of here. Omaha Library finally receives children's picture book that was due in 1985. Better late than never. Omaha Public Library announced last month that it finally received a book that was checked out in 1985. Nebraska Library posted a picture of the book, a children's picture book, called Millions of Cats by Wanda Gag. Wanda Gag, you get a picture of a cat coughing up a hairball, right? All right, Wanda Gag on X in January. The book was originally published in 1928, entered the public domain in 2024. So that's why they brought it back. It's like, anyone can have this now. So much for my Millions of Cats fanfic by Wanda Gag. Damn, they even had cat ladies in the 1920s. Oh God. It was checked out in 1985, and it was due on June 27th of that year. The employee snapped a picture of the book when he came across it. Prompting the library to share the rare find. Better late than never, the Omaha Public Library wrote on January 26th. A.V. Sorensen Branch discovered the long overdue book in their book drop. The date stamp places this item with the original collection from when the branch first opened. Luckily, the borrower from the library system had a liberal policy towards late returns, even in 1985. Omaha Public Library Assistant Director Rachel Steiner told Fox News Digital that despite being 4 decades late, a patron would have been charged a fortune. Before going fines free, we charge 25 cents a day for overdue items, but cap the overdue fine to $5. So that is the most that we would charge if we still collected overdue fines. If items do not come back, then we do charge a replacement fee for the item. We do charge a replacement fee for the item. To the person who never came back? And I guess you never collect that money either? Is that how that works? The borrower was not charged at all for the book, which predated the library's digital system. We did not charge this person for the item. And it wasn't even our patron database since it was checked out before we move everything to computers. So, it must have been sitting in like somebody's... It's like, oh, this is a library book for like 30 years. Damn, almost 40 years. Yeah. Jeepers. 40 years. Oh, there's a library book. So that means the person who like checked it out is probably still alive. But $5 is too much. You know, I've done a few stories on these late library books coming back. It's not because I have library books at my house that I haven't brought back. That's not why. But I was thinking about how, like, the libraries, they said, okay, amnesty. We're not going to charge late fees. Just bring them back. Bring them back. And now say that they've been doing it for like 2 or 3 years, and they figured they collected all the books that are still out, you know, and now they're going to say, that's over. Now the charges are like $18 a day. You know, we're going to get real serious about this library business. After all, who's going in there? Internet. I know, internet doesn't have everything, and research still matters. They're like, okay, that's fine. But if you're having an argument with your friend of like, what the hell is a lynx? It's a canine. And it's like, no, it's not. It's a canine. No, it's not. It's a lynx. Oh, I was thinking about a baboon. What are you talking about? You were talking about a lynx and it's a canine, and then, oh, I meant baboon. That's a completely different thing. Anyway. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that. I also have a Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can send me money that way. I also have social media. On Twitter, I'm at the word Wasteland spelled backwards. That's DNALETSAW. Denalitsaw. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's. You can find those. I got the Exit 13 books, The Ravings of a Madman, and The Bunny Years, a memoir. I'll put them in the links in the description below. Yep. So this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.